I love those comics that have a sneaky high value when they're graded and slabbed, and I'm hoping I have some of those books in the order that I'm about to unpack. All right, I have an unboxing video for you today of great comic books. This is an order that I placed with Atomic Avenue. This is, I think, my third order with this particular seller, Capco Comics. And, the basic premise of anything kind of economics 101 is buy low, sell high, or buy low that has a potential high value. Buy low if you feel like you can speculate or gain some interest on something down the road. But the requirement is getting in on the low side. Relatively low, of course, depending on what you're investing in. And with these books, it's the type of books that I get in these orders. It's always kind of the same breakdown for me. There's just a few bits of nostalgia, some investment books, maybe a couple of books that I heard about that I added to my list, and my analysis kind of told me these are the books that are worth buying because they do have that high value when they're graded by CGC in a 9.8. And then there's always just a little bit of FOMO in there too. And the FOMO is kind of split into two areas. One is the traditional, I just missed out on a book. But there's also some FOMO, I don't know, maybe it's like spite-driven FOMO, where there's a book or two that maybe I got graded that didn't work out in a 9.8, or I got it raw and it was just in bad shape. Maybe I sold it and I wanted to get the book back. There's some formula or breakdown, so when you see these books, you'll kind of see that theme. But I want to get to the unpacking of this order so we can go through these comics. And I want to go through the analysis of the order as well and show you what I paid for these, because what I found is with this particular order, the books, again, had relatively low fair market value, and it was a relatively low cost per book. But many of them had a massive jump from sort of the raw FMV to a CGC 9.4, 9.6, and 9.8. So let's get the comics out of the box and take a look at them, and then we'll start to break down the values. Okay, here is that order from Capco Comics. The tough part with this one, I do like this seller. The seller does not offer free shipping. So this goes against one of my rules, which is try and get free shipping where you can. So I did have to pay for shipping, but I was kind of doing the math, and it just made sense to go ahead and pay for it because of the books that I got. So here is the order sent via, I think it was, 3-day priority. We'll go ahead and get this opened up. So noticeably fresh clothes and noticeably fresh comics. Looks like we got a couple little mini bricks here. So we'll just open them one at a time. So there's a lot of tape on the edges here, as you can see, and I'm trying not to just slice right through. I don't want to grab the comics. And this tape is this is that packing tape. So packing tape near the comics is probably the worst thing you can do, because it's the hardest tape to get off. But seller wants to make sure that these books arrive in good condition, so I appreciate that. Okay. All right, lots of tape in here. Let's get this off. Okay, get rid of the cardboard. And now it's scotch taped again. And I really don't know what to do. I can't take a knife or something just to that, because again, I'll slice the comics. So I'm trying to just grab the tape and peel it back. At least this is the scotch tape. And I'm going to be replacing all of these bags and boards, so it doesn't matter if it stays attached or not. Okay, I am finally through that first pack. That was kind of an ordeal. So, and I'm trying something new with the lighting here a little bit to help reduce the glare. So let me know if that helps or not. So let's get to the books. That's why we're here. This is what I want to see. Here is Iron Man 300. And I ended up getting 2 copies of this. My favorite series, my favorite character, and always happy to add great Iron Man back issues to my personal collection. Next up is New Mutants 13. And I believe this is the first appearance of Cypher, who plays a big role in the current X-Men comics, and Krakoa was in Hoxpox and all of that. New Teen Titans 26, Spawn number 7. Now, I would like to move on from Spawn. I'd like to sell my back issues. But it's hard for me to pass up the single-digit issues of really like Spawn, Spider-Man, the mid-90s comics. It's really difficult for me to do that, especially if this has a black background on the cover there. So, hard to find this in a high grade as it is. And then this is one of those FOMO books that I was talking about. This is Spawn number 9, first appearance of Angela. Now, this one is interesting to me in particular because I had 1 copy of this that I held on since the time that I bought it right off of the newsstand or from my pull box or whatever I was doing at the time at my LCS, and held on to it this whole time, sent it in for grading, and it came back a 9.6. I was sure it was a 9.8. And I noticed a little bit of a color rub issue on the back. So I said, I'm going to be on the lookout for another copy. And I finally bought one, and here it is. Spectacular Spider-Man 56. This is one that I recently picked up, and I'm kind of eyeballing it to see if it was traced already. I can't tell. Anyway, I picked this one up recently and loved it so much. I don't know if I realized when I bought it the first time that this is a Frank Miller cover. So we have Jack-o'-lantern and Spider-Man on the front, the black and white webbing in the background, and a cover by Frank Miller. And the last copy I got was not a 9.8, but it was close. It was like in the 9.2 to 9.6 range. I think I indicated that it could be pressed. So, good value on this one. Watchmen number 9. I am trying to get a complete run of all the loose issues 1 through 12. I've got trades and behind the scenes trades. Love Watchmen, but I want to get the series in the single issues and try and get them all in high grade. At first glance, there is a color break there right across the T. So this is probably not a 9.8, but hopefully it grades out as a 9.4 or 9.6. Uncanny X-Men Annual number 9. I have lost count how many copies of this book. I love this book. There's so much going on in this book for me. You have Storm, who it's a combination of basically a Thor story and a Storm X-Men story. And you have art by Arthur Adams and Walt Simonson. The interior art is gorgeous, and you have Storm, the goddess of thunder, and you see very random and rare homages to this in current books and on some covers, and I always love that throwback. To me, this almost is, the story reads like a what if book, and it's one of those where they could just certainly just kind of make it canon. But I think my highest grade copy on this is 9.6, so I'm still on the lookout for a 9.8 for that one. And last one from this stack, Spectacular Spider-Man 116. This too has a lot of great things going for it. We have Peter Parker Spider-Man in the black and white costume and Sabretooth right there on the cover. And it's just like the creators are like, what can we do? We're talking about 1986 Marvel Comics. Let's get Sabretooth in everything. You know, when you can't get Wolverine, you get Sabretooth. Okay, so that's the first half. Let's get the second half open. Interesting. Okay, so I finally made it through, and I was sneaking a peek at something, and why not just go ahead and show it? This is Iron Man 133. It has a certificate of authenticity. It says it's an official comic book from the second Mile High collection. Book has been selected by the professionals of Mile High Comics Incorporated as being one of the highest quality examples of this particular issue they have ever seen. It is packaged in Mylar protective sleeve, to guarantee its continued unique quality. How about that? The highest quality they've ever seen with some markings on the side. Very interesting. Let me see if I can further open this up. There's like a bag and some other stuff. I want to get in there and see if I can get a better look. And I think I knew I realized this when I was buying it at the time, that there was some description, some note in the description about it being from Mile High, but I didn't really understand what that meant. So I'm trying to get this out of the bag. So I really wonder if this book gets sent into CGC, would it get a pedigree label? Because it's not sealed, I could just open it and take the comic out. Very interesting. Huh. Well, it might be a fun experiment to send it into CGC with the COA and make a note. I'm betting that this COA gets thrown away and it gets a blue label. But because I don't really understand, I think a pedigree, as I understand it, kind of works the same as a signature series in that you kind of have to be present, because with this being an open, like how the heck are they supposed to know? So it's probably a book that's worth just rebagging and boarding with the COA and just keeping it together. But that's cool. I like it. It's unique. It's very unique. I do not have any book that has that sort of COA or history. Okay, back to the other books. How about this one? Amazing Spider-Man 285. Again, there's no difference between direct and newsstand on Atomic. So sometimes you get these that are newsstand, and they're worth more. Again, I am not a newsstand snob. I don't really care, honestly. I understand the rarity and the value and all of that. Like comic books' first variant cover is newsstand, but or vice versa, depending on the era. I get it, but I'm not interested. The only thing I will do is I will make note of that in my collection. So where Atomic Avenue doesn't distinguish one from the other, when I go to input and look at values, I do call out the difference so that I can track, because it's a variant. So love this book. Always love Punisher showing up in ASM. Okay, so these books need a little bit of an explanation. Not much, but I bought Elektra Assassin 1, 5, and 2 copies of 7 because the seller had it. and the price was decent. These books were, well, particularly number one was featured on, I believe it was a recent episode, or not recent, I guess maybe it was relatively recent, within the last few months, of Lords of the Long Box, which is a channel that I watch regularly. And they were talking about like record-breaking slabbed books. And Electra Assassin number one has had some recent sales of over $300. I'm noticing that little color mark there. I don't know if that's on the book or not, or if it's part of the art, but I get distracted starting to look at the condition already. But anyway, there was a record-breaking sale of this in a 9.8 it was over $300 in a 9.8. So I started looking online and tracking these books, and you can find these for a couple of bucks, a few dollars. So this is that example of finding books that have a low FMV, but for some reason, either because of the material of the book, the colors, the rarity, scarcity, whatever the case may be, it's hard to get in a 9.8. So those hard to get in a 9.8, how do you know which books, that applies to? Because you're just looking at comics. How would you know looking at a comic that, oh yeah, that one in a 9.8 is really, really tough unless you just knew or you had history with it. And so that's where my data analysis helps me with that, because it will prioritize books that have a low buy-in but a high potential. That's the basic premise of my tracking. And that's the case with all of these. As a kid back in 1986 and 87, these books scared me. The Bill Sienkiewicz art, I just knew as a kid I had no business picking up Electra Assassin. So very scary to me, but especially because they weren't even Marvel. They were under the Epic imprint. So I was just scared to death that it was just so much gore and violence in here. That it just, I was going to get in trouble for even having it or something. I don't know. Sienkiewicz is a master, and these books are awesome. So hopefully they grade out. I don't know what that is, if it's color rub on the book or an ink stain or something. I don't know. Maybe if I rub it with hard enough with an eraser or Macula Clean, I'll just pull all that ink off. Who knows? I'm just joking. But anyway, so I wanted to get that as kind of an experiment, as kind of like one of those buy low and then have high value potential in the collection. Here's a book that's, boy, these colors are really popping on this one. Captain America 249. Just the colors are jumping off the page on that, so that's awesome. This is a great 50-cent cover issue. John Byrne cover, too, on Captain America. How about that? So that's great. I bought 2 copies of Batman The Long Halloween as well. This is another series like Watchmen that I love, and I want to get the single issues 1 through 13 on this in as high grade possible per issue. Love this series. It's a great read. It's an easy read, and it's a lot of what the current Batman movies are based off of. Some of the characters in here, Falcone, what are the other upcoming villains? Riddler, Penguin. Like, it features the gallery of Batman's villains in that. And then Catwoman is also a theme in there, but great Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale limited series. Speaking of other great Batman books, Batman 405. This is the Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli Year 1 storyline. So I like to grab these where I can as well. I love those Batman origin stories that all of the modern media, films, everything are kind of based off of. I love going back and grabbing those. Here's Batman 408. This one is interesting. It's complicated. All of the Tim Drake, Jason Todd, Robin and first appearances seem complicated, but this is supposedly the reintroduction of Jason Todd, and he later becomes Robin and eventually Red Hood as well. So he's kind of given a new origin in this book. All right, last two here. This is the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 20. This was another book I carried through since childhood. And then when I got into actually understanding how to grade books and assigning a grade to the book, I read this book and carried it with me, and it was beat up so much that I wanted to have a fresh copy. And I do believe my copy is newsstand, and this looks very pretty. Looks really, really nice here in the direct edition. I love it. The Iron Man of 2020. It was so futuristic back in 1986, and now even that looks old and dated. But that's still fun and great. Last one again, always great. Punisher in Amazing Spider-Man. Here's ASM 358. Mark Bagley on the cover. This is a gatefold cover wraparound. So that is the order. Those are the comics. Now I want to jump in and take a look at the order details. And we can kind of see from a fair market value perspective what I paid, what they're worth, but then also what is the potential if I were to get them graded. All right, so here is the breakdown of the order. This was placed on January 28th, 2022 from Capco Comics on Atomic Avenue. And all of these books were listed as near mint, which again, it's part of the mystery, part of the fun is what condition do they actually come back as once they're graded. I love going through every single book and taking my time and grading each one and assigning a grade. It's the only way to go. And I figure if I'm going to buy all these books, I have to be willing to grade them and go through this level of detail, which I love. So total cost for this order, $186.20. And if we slide over, well, first you'll notice that shipping, $18.70. That's more than I'm comfortable paying for shipping, but I understand. And you saw the books I got. I wanted to pay the shipping on those because it was a big order and there's a lot of potential there. So we'll slide over to the total cost and then the raw profit, which is the raw book value that I've added. And you can see here, based on the values, again, with the total cost matching $186.20, I applied that $18.70 shipping charge across the 23 books. And then I recalculate everything to make sure it sums up all nice. So every book is going to contribute to that shipping cost. And I track that as my cost per book. I make sure that the shipping cost is included in each book is what I mean there. So from a raw FMV perspective, meaning if I were to take all of these books, turn them right around and sell them on eBay, I should be able to get the fair market value for each book. And this order would allow me to gain somewhere around $10 or $11. So I paid just a touch under FMV for these books. And then we'll take a look at the CGC potential here in a moment. I have not graded these yet, but if we're just all things considered equal, if near mint is truly a 9.4, and that's what everybody always screams at me to say that's all you can expect from these sellers, then we'll plug in the 9.4s and see how that turns out. So let's, real quick before we do that, let's look at the big winners and losers here from the FMV. It looks like that New Mutants 13 was a good purchase at $7.81. The Long Halloween at $5.81 for each of those. Got a $7 profit there. Big loss here on Batman 405. I paid $25.81 and it has a fair market value of only $14.76. So it's plus or minus. It's all kind of averaging out here. A few bucks here, a few bucks there. It's not too bad. I like to buy these comics for the potential. So what we're going to do now is plug in what I think the grade could be. So if I were grading these and start assigning a 9.4, and I'm just going to go ahead and assign it all the way down. And let's see what that CGC value turns out to be. So in total, if we look at column AB, if I sent all of these books to CGC and I paid for the grading fees, and I incorporated the cost to acquire the book plus shipping back and forth, I would stand to gain about $38.62, according to the current market values for all of these books slabbed in a 9.4. So not bad, right? I mean, if you're looking to get your money back, or add some of these to your PC, but that's not really what I'm here for. I'm really here to look at what is my ceiling, what is my absolute maximum potential, because my hope is, according to the numbers, some of these books are going to slip into the 9.8 or even a 9.6. And I don't know if I've done this before. Like, what if they're 9.6s? I mean, is that a possibility? Absolutely. So a $38, let's just call it $39 if they're all 9.4s. But if they're 9.6s, how about that? What does that look like? And if they're 9.6s, then the potential CGC value on those is almost $600. So even that's not bad, and you can look and start to see which books are popping. Spectacular Spider-Man 56, that great Frank Miller cover. We have that Iron Man 133, that Mile High edition. I don't know what to do with that one other than just preserve it myself. But even that in a 9.6 is $100. And if we move back to the rest, nothing else really over 100. This ASM 285 with Punisher on the cover sneaking up to 96, and New Mutants 13 at 93. So let's shift them all to 9.8 and see how that works. Again, I don't believe that they all would be, but again, what is the ceiling? This is the potential that I'm looking for when I make these purchases. And it has a ceiling of $3,127.63 when they're graded. And now we can really start to take a look and see at the books that jump. Now, this was interesting. Again, I'm looking at the numbers, looking at the data. That Electra Assassin number 7 was $409. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning of this video. My total cost for that book was $3.06. But if it turns into a 9.8, according to the data, it's $409 in a 9.8. Okay, sure. Now, you'll note here I talked about the Electro Assassin number 1, where there was a report that came out that those books were slabbed, were selling over 300. I have calculated, according to my tracking and my research, that the CGC value in a 9.8 on that is 235. For number 5, it's over 300. So to me, it feels like these books are kind of like in flux, like people are figuring it out. Maybe they're slabbing, maybe they're selling, and maybe once people saw that these books were selling for a high amount, then they started putting theirs on eBay to try and cash in. So there's a number of reasons why, but I would say that series in general, look out for those. I mean, you can see I paid about $3 per book here, 281, and then 306 for the other two. And that's really what I'm talking about, is try and find those books that are a low entry for you to acquire the books. Remember, I talk about gain possession of the book, get it in your possession, then you can start to look at it, break it down, grade it, and think about your options. But at $3, it's such a minimal investment. You just have to know where to look, where to get them, and then also, like I said, figure out a way for you to look at a book online or in hand and understand that it has way more value graded, even though it's a low FMV. So let's wrap this up and look at some of the other ones again. Spectacular Spider-Man 56 in a 9.8 is $175. That's a great Frank Miller book. Watchmen 9 at $150 in a 9.8. That Cap 249 looks gorgeous. At least the colors do at $150. New Mutants 13, $180. Long Halloween, each of those are $130. The Jason Todd Origin book, $408 at $148. Batman 405, $241. ASM Annual at $147, ASM 358 at $113, and ASM 285 at $147. So lots of great potential here. I love grabbing these books, and then what I will do is I will, when I'm looking at my data kind of side by side, I will look for low FMV, low cost, and then just because it's easy to spot, I look for a 3-figure CGC 9.8 value. So if it's like $2 or $3, but slabbed it's 100 or more, obviously, then I go ahead and take a chance on those. And that's what I did with this particular order. So I'll grade these out and look at it. This particular seller has sent me good books in the past. I think right now he's somewhere around 10 to 20% of the orders being in 9.8. One of the better sellers on Atomic Avenue. So check him out, Capco Comics. You do not get the free shipping there, but take a look at the inventory there and see if there are any books that jump out at you. There you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.